Hi everyone, welcome to the Highlights from Ukraine podcast, your daily audio summary of the latest news reported in the Ukrainian media. My name is Artem, and here is the news. For 859 days, Ukraine stands strong against the forces of the Russian invasion. The Guardian informs that known pro-Russian leader Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban is expected to visit Kyiv on July 2nd, reports Slovo i Dilo. According to the media sources, the reason for the visit is that Hungary is taking over the rotating presidency of the EU. Two sources in Budapest said Orban is expected to meet with President Volodymyr Zelensky. This trip of the Hungarian Prime Minister will be the first to Ukraine after the beginning of the full-scale invasion by Russia. The plans for the visit emerged after lengthy negotiations regarding the rights of the Hungarian-speaking minority in Ukraine, which lives in the extreme west of the country near the border between the two states. The premise of the meeting was to resolve the issue of citizenship rights. In recent weeks, an agreement has been reached. Although the issue of citizenship rights has been one of Budapest's loudest claims regarding Ukraine, Orban's skeptics accuse him of using this issue as a smokescreen to promote Russian thesis on the war, the publication notes. Unlike most European countries, Hungary has repeatedly questioned the need for military support to Ukraine and instead called for a ceasefire. Has made at least 5 visits to Russia since the start of the war, the latest of which was last month at an economic forum in St. Petersburg. The Economist informs that Ukraine has a month to negotiate with creditors on debt restructuring and avoid default, reports Ekonomiczna Pravda. Ukraine's creditors have agreed to suspend debt payments for 2 years. However, the ban on payments to private foreign bondholders ends on 1st of August. If Ukraine defaults, it could undermine investor confidence in Western commitments and mean a disaster for country's post-war recovery. Ukraine has offered creditors a deal that cuts 60% of the current value of the debts, but creditors believe 22% would be more reasonable. The International Monetary Fund is interested in Ukraine agreeing on debt relief, but a deal seems unlikely at this time. Ukraine is in desperate need of financial assistance. The sums provided by allies are impressive, but they come in the form of weapons and trust funds, not cash. The EU plans to offer slightly more, but still only $38 billion over 3 years. According to the IMF, given the radical restructuring that Ukraine proposed and the bondholders rejected, the country will barely be able to make ends meet. For their part, bondholders question how the IMF can be so confident, especially given that its analysis is several months out of date. If there is no restructuring agreement, Ukraine has 2 options: agree on extending the moratorium on debt payments or declare default. The restraint of private investors reflects not only Ukraine's financial prospects. During a normal restructuring, creditors gamble on the country's economic prospects. Lending to a borrower at war also carries a second bet that he will win. Bondholders are also skeptical of Ukraine's long-term recovery plans in the event of victory. While allies and the IMF say restructuring now will allow Ukraine to return to financial markets once the war ends and allies forgive the debt, investors are not convinced that the day will ever come. Rather, they believe that restructuring will be the first of many attempts by Ukraine's allies to shift the financial burden of the war and the costs of reconstruction from the government to the private sector. This year, Ukraine needs another $9.5 billion to finance the priority needs of recovery. These are the defense industry, energy, damaged housing, agriculture, natural resources, digital technology, and the IT sector. A group of foreign bondholders, including BlackRock, BLK, and PIMCO, plans to pressure Ukraine to resume interest payments on the debt as early as next year. We would really appreciate if you could recommend us to your friends and family, as well as share information on social media. This really helps more people to find out about the highlights from Ukraine and truth about Russia's invasion. Head of the Office of the President of Ukraine, Andriy Yermak, informed that since the launch of the Grain from Ukraine program, Kyiv has sent 221,000 tons of agricultural products to 10 countries in Africa and Asia, reports LBUA. This includes 195,000 tons of wheat, 22.2 thousand tons of wheat flour, and 4.1 thousand tons of split peas. Yermak added that this helped ensure food security for 8 million people. According to him, in the first half of 2024, consignments of wheat flour have already been delivered to Sudan, wheat to Nigeria, split peas to Mauritania, Djibouti, Mozambique, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Currently, a humanitarian cargo is headed to Malawi and other recipient countries. In addition, Ukraine plans to expand the program to other regions of the world. Possible deliveries to Haiti, Chad, Cameroon, Tanzania, Djibouti, and other countries are already being discussed. Thank you for listening to the Highlights from Ukraine podcast, a non-commercial initiative of just two people, and we need your help to grow. Share information about the podcast, rate us in the app, subscribe to our Patreon. With your support, we are getting better.
We call on you to demand from governments of your countries to impose the toughest sanctions possible on Russia and its citizens to stop their invasion of Ukraine.